Hi guys, welcome back to Better Developer Docs. This is another video about WordPress Site Speed Optimization at mobile. In the previous video, we talked about how to optimize your images for influencing page speed. In this particular video, we're going to talk about reducing requests to the server. Requests to the server are it's kind of a technical phrase, I guess. But basically, what this means is that in order for a browser to show your website to a user, a public user, um, the browser needs to ask your host for particular files in order to present the page to the user. And these files are known as requests. So the browser is requesting a particular file from the server. That's how it can be understood. And if you have less of these requests, then there is less time taken to actually present the page to the user, and therefore you can reduce the page load time. So I'll give you an example. This is Pingdom page speed tools, and I use it to measure the performance of a website. When you put the URL in and you hit test, it will give you these results. And one of these results is the number of requests which is required in order to show this page to the user. So actually, to show this particular page here, it requires 53 different requests. And I happen to know that it's very common in WordPress to have a lot more requests than you need in order to render the page. And that is because WordPress uses plugins and themes, and these are built by other people, and those other people, developers, don't necessarily build their plugin or theme in an efficient way with respect to requests. They're not always thinking about page loads time. So it's possible to have too many of these than you actually need. It's also possible for site admins to have a plugin installed which they don't need anymore, but is actually causing an increase in this number of requests. And so we can do some stuff to reduce all this um, extra weight. So how do we actually reduce requests? We use a plugin called Asset Cleanup plugin in order to show us what's being loaded on a page in terms of requests. And then from there, we can take a particular action to remove a plugin or a theme or tweak settings or whatever. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go over to my plugins area of the site. And I actually already have Asset Cleanup installed, but I haven't activated it yet. So if you want to catch up to me, just go to Add New, go to the search panel here and click type Asset Cleanup, and then you can find this plugin, install it, and then activate it, and then you will be caught up to where I am. I'm going to click Activate, and that's all good. What we're going to do now is click settings, and I'm just going to show you the different settings that I'm using here, because this plugin actually is quite comprehensive and has quite a few different settings that we can use. So what I like to do is set it up with CSS minification combination, so combining different CSS into fewer files, and that will actually reduce our requests here. Yep, inline CSS, turn that on. Dynamic load, turn that on. Um, and then I also make sure that this is on minification of JavaScript, combination of JavaScript into fewer files, do that. Some of these features are paid. If you want to use some of these features that require the paid upgrade, you can obviously buy the upgrade. I don't do that. I find that I can get away without using these, but depending on the case, I would consider that. In this particular site, I don't need it. Um, and then I just make sure that all this other stuff is turned on as well. You just want like as many as many sort of beneficial things as possible. However, there is a happy medium. You don't need to go too crazy in this. So optimize CSS, optimize JavaScript. I also go to site-wide common uploads, and usually I just turn on all of this stuff. This is all off by default, but you can turn it on. Emojis, dash icons, turn that off. That's stuff related to this admin bar up here that you see when you're logged in. Um, I'm going to leave those ones off because I use comments. I don't need migrate, and I do use Gutenberg, so I'm going to leave those ones on. Going to look at the source cleanup. Basically, there's a bunch of. I'd turn all of these on. I think, yeah, all of them are on. Um, So there's stuff like removing certain tags from the head and certain links from the head and stuff like that. This is stuff that is like superfluous and you probably don't need. Have a read of these and just understand if there's anything that you do want to keep. But generally, I just turn all those things on, which will remove those. So that's the general settings. What I'm going to do now is this particular page is the one that I'm optimizing um, in this video series. However, the optimizations that I do for this page will extrapolate and be felt all across the site. So we're going to see improvements everywhere. What I'm going to show you now is go to the particular page which you're editing or sorry, testing in the CMS and scroll down to the bottom. And what you're going to see is a new area, uh, which is here. And this is a series of concertinas which show you all the different requests that are being made on a page. And if you remember, the request is what we're trying to decrease. So asset asset cleanup plugin tells us this information. So once it's been installed, you can go to any page and you can see this info for that particular page. And so it's saying that there's 56 requests, and 35 are coming from plugins, 7 from the theme, blah, 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 blah. So I happen to know that most of the page speed gains with respect to requests that we're going to get are going to be in plugins. So what happens is I'm just going to scroll. You can see the name of the plugin here and the amount of requests that it actually requires in order to use. And I happen to know that this particular plugin is not something that I want to keep. This just allows me to copy blogs and pages in the CMS easily, but I don't think it's worth having that functionality for the 11 files that it uses on the front end. So I'm going to uninstall that plugin. However, if you don't want to uninstall one of these plugins in the list, you have options here to unload this particular file on this particular page. You can unload this particular file on every page by clicking this option. And you can also unload this particular file from this particular kind of page. So this is a post page. But I know that I don't really need this plugin anymore. So I'm going to go over to plugins, and I'm going to find copy. Oh, actually, it was there, wasn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to deactivate, and I'm going to delete. Deleting plugins which you don't really need is also a good security feature because they're vulnerabilities. So you can do that. So just by deleting that plugin, which I don't really need, I'm going to save myself 11 files on this number here. So that's going to go down by 11 the next time we test. And so now I'm just going to continue scrolling down past the 11 files from copy and paste and find the next plugin, which is Getwood, that has 6 files. I'm also going to uninstall this plugin, but this will vary for you. You might want to keep some of these plugins that are adding requests. I'm only removing these plugins, Getwood and copy and paste, because I know I don't really need them. So I'm basically, the process here is removing files or removing plugins which are adding to your request count without actually giving you much functionality. I want to keep this one because this is a little bit of site security that I'm adding here by having the reCAPTCHA on. reCAPTCHA is what happens when you're asked if you're a robot and you have to, like, select a checkbox to say that you're not a robot or something like that. So I like that security feature, so I'm going to leave that. But remember this plugin, because in a later step, we're actually going to change this plugin for something else because there are faster versions of this plugin. But at this stage, I'm just trying to reduce requests. But yeah, we'll come back to that point later. Social Snap Light, I also know that I don't really need. If you do want to keep that, obviously you can. But this, I'm quite ruthless about plugins which I don't really need. I try and keep my plugins to be as low as possible. You can see that I've actually only got 11 active plugins and 2 that I'm probably going to delete. I don't leave inactive plugins around very long because they're security holes. So we've reduced by a further 2 files. So we'll scroll down. WooCommerce has got 11 files. And then, okay, so I happen to know that I don't sell uh, e-commerce products from this website. I just installed that because I was doing a tutorial on WooCommerce and I needed some to use it for that blog post. However, I don't need that anymore. So again, I'm just removing stuff which adds weight to my page that I no longer need. So we're removing those, and we're just going to go back and carry on. WordFence Security is adding 3 files, but that's a very good security plugin, so I'm not going to remove that one. And that's all that we have here for the plugins. I'm just going to quickly have a look through here. My particular theme is adding this file, which is only used by Internet Explorer, and I suspect I could possibly get away with removing those because not much of my traffic comes from Internet Explorer. But just be careful if you are removing files from your theme. Generally speaking, they're necessary, but you can remove them if you want. Just be careful, as they will have an impact on your site. Okay, so there are other options here, but I generally don't remove anything from the core. Um, and I leave the inline stuff as well. So I'm going to leave it there for in terms of request optimizations. And then let's retest. But before we retest, um, I'm going to clear all the caches that I have. So in WordPress, you quite often have caches. I have two caches. Actually, I have three caches. I have, so the plugin that we just used has a cache. So I'm going to clear that cache before I test so that the test is working on the most up-to-date version of the site, which is after I remove those plugins. I'm also going to remove this um, cache, and I believe that's a cache that comes in from the server, um, but I just clear everything just to make sure that everything is clear. And then I am going to go to Cloudflare. In the previous video, we set up a Cloudflare CDN, which is also a significant improvement on page speed, but it also has a cache. So I'm going to purge that cache, and it's saying that we just need to wait 30 seconds in order to have the changes to the cache take effect. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you my previous tests. So 31 was the score out of 100 that I got after I implemented the CDN. So I'm going to set up another test now, and I'm going to retest the same page, and hopefully we'll see an increase in page speed here due to the fact that we have removed a bunch of requests from the page. So I think we can probably, I'm going to open up a new, oh, already did that. I'm going to open up a new test so I can compare to the old one. So we'll click Analyze. And then I'm also going to do the same for Pingdom. I like to use two of these to cross-reference because this actually gives me different information. This actually gives me the number of requests, which Google Page Speed Insights does not do. So I'm going to hit test there, and then we should see some sort of improvement. Just going to give it a second to do that. So we've gone from 31 to 38 by reducing the amount of requests. This is still fairly low, but we're going to get this up to about the 80s or 90s over the course of this video series. Right now, what I'm looking for is just an improvement. All right, so 31 to 38 is significant. And if we scroll down, it's still going to tell us that we've got some things to improve under opportunities. But if I go over to Pingdom, so I should see that this number, 24, is a significant decrease from 53. So we reduced by approximately 25 requests, which will mean that we should have a faster load time. So the previous one was 1.85 and this one is 1.3. So we've saved like 0.55 a second. We also see that our page size has decreased slightly by approximately 200 kilobytes, which is, that's around 20% of the old page load or page size. So that's good. So yeah, we've seen our requests come down in our most recent test, which is great. We're getting nearer to that 1 second load time, which is what I want. I actually want to get that to be sub 1 second in the end. But in the next videos, we're going to do more to cumulatively increase our score out of 100 in Google PageSpeed and decrease our page load in Pingdom PageSpeed tools. In the next video, I'm going to troubleshoot requests even further because what you're going to find, this is the latest test, right? The opportunities that we see here, Google's actually saying you've got, even though you reduce the requests, you've still got unused JavaScript, you've still got unused CSS, you've still got something, and it gives you a little hint here. You've still got something that is slowing down the server response time, and then you've also got render blocking JavaScripts and minification of CSS, which we could apparently do. So some of these things are a little vague, like it's not immediately obvious how and what you need to do in order to reduce the server response time even further. And so what I'm going to do in the next video is specifically show you how to figure that stuff out, um, so that you can make even further analysis and speed improvements. So there's a particular tool that I'll show you in order to be able to do that. So I'll leave a card for that video, for the next video, in order to troubleshoot requests further. But I'll also leave another card to another video, which I'm going to do, which is a real life raw example of troubleshooting WordPress paid speed optimizations in another site. And the reason why this video is useful is that there's actually a lot of nuance and troubleshooting that goes into um, tweaking WordPress sites for page speed. The version that I'm showing you in this video series is a little bit more glossy and smooth because I've actually done it several times to get to this level. But actually, there's some troubleshooting that these videos aren't really showing you. These videos are more about like um, at a high level, kind of showing you what you can do. But in this video, I'm going to show you a more realistic, nuanced troubleshooting kind of view. So yeah, click those cards for further videos, and thanks guys. We'll see you in the next video.